Ocala, baby, what makes you look so good?
Well, one of the things that makes Ocala look good is John Sotomayor. Oh, he's always looking good. He's in the studio right now ready to host his own show called Ocala Magazine Radio. He's also the executive editor of Ocala Magazine, and he's got a great show this 5th day of July. Good morning, John. How you doing?
Great, Larry. Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I'm very excited today because our July issue has just debuted, and we're focusing on the 40 under 40, a very popular subject for Ocala to find out who made our list. And as always, we have a dynamic group. Very impressive, as always. Today we have a sneak peek of who's going to be on there.
All right.
We have with us as our guest today Robert Smith. He is an A-list music producer and owner of Studio Rocket. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning.
And his wife, Xochitl Jacket Smith, she is the owner of Ocala Princess, and she's the president of Studio Rocket.
Wow.
Good morning, Xochitl.
Good morning.
All right, and both of them are here today upon my invitation. This is actually a long one coming, Larry. I invited them to be on my show last January.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when we covered them in our feature, The Midas Touch. And that was part of our look at Ocala in our town and country issue about how things are becoming more metropolitan and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so Robert had a very busy schedule last few months working on some of his new projects, which I'd like you to tell us about today. Tell us what you've been working on in the last few months.
The last few months, we've been working on a few new projects. Down in Miami, we worked on a new artist signed to Island Def Jam through Mercury. His name is Chris Cab. We did a collaboration with Wyclef on him. So that's been keeping us busy. We've recently got our facility here downtown. So we started the process of actually moving our studio here to Ocala.
Fantastic. Well, before we talk about the studio, let's talk a little bit about your background too, so that our listeners can understand where you're coming from and why you're building the studio here. So, like I said, we profiled you in our January 2013 story. You had phenomenal success working with A-list entertainers that included Michael Jackson, Beyonce, and Jennifer Lopez.
Yes.
Yeah, so tell us about your background and how you got started with all this.
Music has been a part of my life. I was very blessed. My parents, they really didn't give us a choice when it came to music. My father was a pastor of a small church in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and he said he had 6 children.
Oh, yeah.
So he said, I can't afford to hire musicians. So he, when you was born, you had a musician put in your hand, an instrument put in your hand, or a microphone. So my grandfather was a traveling musician, my mother's father. So music has been very instrumental in my life from day one.
Absolutely.
So eventually we got into production and things like that. That's how the music thing started.
And you also have a cousin that's very prominent in the recording industry. You're related to Rodney Jenkins of Dark Child Records.
Right, Rodney Jerkins.
Jerkins.
Yep.
Thank you. Tell me about how you got started with him.
His mother, my mother are, I think, 2 years apart. There's sisters, and we grew up together as brothers. And it's the same story with him. His father was a pastor, and we grew up more like brothers than cousins, and we just dabbled in production, since we can't even, I don't even really honestly remember, how the exact age, but it was, in my singular years,
right,
as far as numbers.
Well, you told me earlier that you started in New Jersey and then he moved on to Los Angeles, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so then what happened there after that?
Well, I was 17 at the time. He's 2 years older than me. He was working on a project in Los Angeles, and he had a record that he was doing in New York that he was supposed to be working on, but he was in Los Angeles. So he called me at the last minute and said, listen, I need you to go to New York and do a record. It's a new artist. Don't let them know I'm not in town. just act
Right.
like I'll be back. And they're gonna come in. So I went, did the record, and the record came out, and it was a pretty big record.
This was the remake of Bruce Springsteen's song,
Yes.
Sad Eyes, and the new artist at the time was Enrique Iglesias. Wow, that's big. So how'd that go down?
At that was kind of the moment when I realized, okay, I want to do this, like as a career. Because at that point in my life, I was at a crossroads. My father had a business that my brothers and I were very involved with. I loved basketball. I was a pretty good basketball player, so I didn't know if I was gonna go to college, play basketball in college. And the music thing was what was most natural, and that was like the deciding moment where, like, well,
Yeah.
I can have some success doing this.
And in a short period of time, you started working with some A-list musicians. Like I mentioned, Michael Jackson, Beyonce, and Jennifer Lopez. You also work with the Spice Girls, Jessica Simpson, Toni Braxton, and Mary J. Blige, amongst others.
Yeah, Lionel Richie,
Destiny's Child.
Destiny's
Child.
A lot of them.
So many.
Well, tell us, I know a lot of our listeners want to know, what was it like working with Michael Jackson?
And it was just more the experience of kind of being in that fantasy world of his. We actually worked with him. The process was more than 3 years. One of those years was spent like on Neverland, pretty much the entire year.
So you spent a year at Neverland Ranch.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you can imagine, like, it was like spending a year at a little Disney World.
Right.
Literally, people, like, the little stands that you have outside of Disney World where you go buy ice cups and
Oh, really?
snow cones and stuff like that. Everything.
Uh-huh.
You just walk up and get it though.
Right.
The people are there. So,
And you paid a nice compliment to Michael in the last feature that we did, Midas Touch, where you mentioned that he was one of the hardest working people that you knew. Is that correct?
oh yeah, for sure.
What was the example that you gave us at the time? Something about his time in the studio, how much time he actually spent in the studio.
Oh yeah, I mean, to do a song. One of the things also is he earned. He's the only artist probably in history that has the budget to do the kind of recording that he does. You could be working on a song for a year. Just he records it. He wants another mix, and then you record it again, or he wants something changed. It could be a process. That's why his albums always took years.
Wow, right.
He was definitely a perfectionist, but it was extremely expensive.
I can imagine.
But he was definitely an incredibly hard worker.
Another hardworking individual is Beyonce. I mean, she's got a stellar career. What was it like working with her?
Oh man, I mean, one thing I learned about these artists, there's very little luck that has to do with the success
Right.
that they achieve. You know what I mean? Like you put 100 hours in, they put 120 hours in. So they're just incredibly hard workers with the talent to match. So they're incredibly talented, but their work ethic really exceeds their talent, and that's a recipe. In my experience, that's been the commonality amongst all of the great artists that I work with, is that they just work much harder than everybody else.
Right. You had a great story you shared with me about meeting Jennifer Lopez. You met her through her agent. How did that go down?
Yeah, actually, my brother, as a producer, you get calls, to work with people, or you submit records. We know a project is happening. We get together with our writing team, we go in the studio, and we work, and then we submit the records to the artist and their management or the record label A&Rs. And her her agent at the time, one of her producers, Corey Rooney and Benny Medina, reached out to me about some songs that we worked on for her, and they called us in to work with her. And at that time, you can imagine Jennifer Lopez. That was every man's dream.
That's right.
So I was, after the initial point of being starstruck of staring at her in the studio, you know, we ended up recording some good records. Very, very, very cool person, though.
Excellent.
Cool.
Now, some of the recent projects I think you were working on involve Lil Wayne, his newest pop act, Ashley Ring. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
Yeah, she's a young artist from Cincinnati, Midwest girl, who he's a
Pop artist.
pop artist they're very excited about. We did a song called Invasion. We actually have to go back down. She's in Atlanta now. We're gonna go back to Atlanta and do some more with her.
Okay.
Very cool.
And you have another young artist that you're working with, Universal Republic artist Cece Sagara. Am I saying it right?
Yes. We actually finished her project earlier. So another very cool pop act, Latin.
Okay, great.
So,
Like that.
that's exactly Puerto Rican too.
Right, good.
So very cool.
Excellent. So, so now you also have big plans for Ocala, and this is where I want our listeners to really pay close attention. You would like to bring music production here locally, so that our local musicians, and we have a lot of talent here, do we not, Larry?
We got a lot. Yes.
Lots of talent here. That they don't have to actually go out to further cities to find or start. They can actually start here in Ocala, and that's where your recording studio, Studio Rocket, comes in. What do you have planned, and why Ocala?
Well, we're really the music industry has changed so significantly in the last 5 or 10 years, but really in the last year. Just last week, Jay-Z, you know, kind of not last week, Wednesday night, he made history. He bypassed the record companies altogether and went straight to the corporation to sell his music. And it's the first time that Nielsen Recording, who they tracked the sales of albums, they had to change their whole system and how they track music and track sales, because he did it digitally.
Right.
And you know, usually they do it through hard CD sales, and we don't need to go through the loopholes now. You know, we need to find the talent as producers, as songwriters. We look for the talent. We can put projects together, and with the internet and with the corporations, you know, it gives us many avenues where we can get our music to the world. So Ocala has been my home since birth. I've been here before.
And that's because your father and mother had a house here, in addition to other properties.
Yes. So we've loved this place from birth.
You used to come every summer, is that right? Or
4 or 5 times a year.
4 or 5 times a year. Okay.
From before I can remember.
Right.
And you know, it's home and it's untapped. That's really one of the main things of all of the places where we decided to live. First of all, this is wonderful for my children.
Yes.
And where we are right now.
It's a fantastic place to raise a family.
Fantastic place to raise a family. So that's number one. But number two, it's an untapped market.
Absolutely.
And we're excited about that.
And what a broad range of services you're planning to provide for the community here. The Studio Rocket will be a music powerhouse that will provide complete production services for artists, musical production and management, and artist marketing and multimedia development. That's quite a bit.
Yes.
Also, it's going to be a one-stop shop for musicians, choreographers, aspiring artists, DJs, and more. That's a lot to take on.
Well, it's everything that I've been doing for the last 15 years. It's just available to the public in a more intimate sense now.
Okay, excellent. And you're also going to provide a youth program, is that correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, you know, incredibly important to me is, this generation is so influenced by pop culture. The sad thing is most of it is negative,
Yeah.
and we're a little at 33, going on 34 years old, with 5 beautiful children. I started noticing a few years ago how even some of the music that I was producing, I didn't like my daughters particularly singing it and hearing it, you know what I mean? And they're, dancing and doing things that I'm like, oh, it's a little too soon for that. So we want to provide a more positive, experience. A more positive experience through entertainment.
Okay, excellent. And I want our listeners to know, Larry, that we're basically talking here about A-list experience in a major recording industry right here in Ocala, and I think people are going to take notice. And it seems some people might be already. Do we have a caller?
You do have a caller, yes. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning. Glad to listen to the young gentleman. My music teacher in the school in St. Augustine, when I was in elementary school, my first music teacher taught Ray Charles. As a matter of fact, I graduated from the same school as Ray Charles. And one of the guys that I went to school with was a drummer for Sam and Dave, as well as, I don't know if he know the Johnson's brothers from over in Orlando. They also have a studio. I went to school with their mother and father, who were great musicians. And the list goes on and on. My brothers my brothers did a few things in music, and I was wondering if he knew the Johnson brothers. Their father was James, and also if he knew a fellow by the name of Irvin Dixon, who also played with a number of prominent musicians, both in this country and out of the country. As a matter of fact, he lives in Lake City now. But I'm just interested in finding out where his studio is. I'd like to maybe meet with him and talk with him, he and his wife someday. It's just, I'm really excited about his presence here in Marion County. I'll hang up and listen to his comments.
Don't hang up, sir.
Okay.
Robert's going to answer your question now. It was a loaded question, so we might have to take this in pieces.
Okay.
Robert, you want to answer it?
No, I don't know the gentleman that you're asking me about, but I'm sure I would love if he's played for all of those people. I'm sure he's a very talented musician. That's the thing we want.
Yeah, in St. Augustine, we had quite a bit. I'm probably a lot older than you, but we had a lot of musicians to graduate from there that became professionals when they graduated. I graduated from the Florida School for the Blind, but then I went to college further after I left there.
Well, and these musicians are local?
They're all over, actually.
Wow.
One is a brother of mine. As a matter of fact, my one brother that was really great, he's deceased. He was a police officer, too. But I know and went to school with a number in St. Augustine with musicians that are all over the state, really, and a few that are here, that are close around.
Okay, thank you, caller. What we're going to ask now is Robert to provide some information where people can find out where they can contact him for the music industry. So, Robert, where can they reach you?
You can go to our website, studiorocket.com.
Rocket IT.
Yeah, Rocket IT.
Meaning not rocket ship, but rocket.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
And that'll give you all the information, our address. Our facility is right downtown, right, 2 blocks off the square. And, everything is on the website.
Okay.
Everything.
And do you have a projected premiere date for the studio, when it's going to open?
Oh, yeah, right now we're doing youth camps right now,
Okay.
and getting acclimated. This is the way we're actually finding talent.
So you're open now, right now?
In the area, yes. With the youth talent,
Okay.
we're gonna start doing talent shows, soliciting. We're really trying to find great acts, projects to get started with here locally. We're getting acquainted with a lot of local musicians right now. There's
Excellent. Thank you very much, Robert. And now I want to focus on Xochi a bit. Xochi, you're also starting a lot of interesting projects here in the local area, which the reason why you're included in our 40 Under 40 list. Not only are you Robert's supportive wife, but you're also his business manager and partner as
She's the
president of
boss.
Studio Rocket. She's the boss. And what is it like working in that aspect of the music business?
Oh, it's amazing. I get to oversee the artist development process as well
Closer to the mic.
as
You can pull the other one over, maybe that'd be
Sorry.
easier. Thank you.
I get to oversee the artist development process as well as content development process. So I get to be administrative and creative at the same time. So I get, the best of both worlds.
Excellent. And you've branched out into new businesses here in Ocala. You are the owner of Ocala Princess. Tell us about that business.
Ocala Princess is a princess entertainment, and we have all the Disney-inspired princesses. We also have an original princess, which is our rock star princess, and it's just a lot of fun for girls.
Okay. And what can we tell parents that they can look forward to for their daughters?
Well, we're it's for events, for birthdays, for special events, for community events. We have face painting, party hosting, tea parties, spa parties, fashion parties. It's just, great fun for girls.
Yeah.
And it really started because in planning my twins' birthday party, they wanted a princess party. They're both girls, and there was no princesses around, and they wanted a princess to come to their party. So I said, hey, it's a perfect opportunity, and Ocala Princess was born.
Fantastic. And is there a way that people can find out about it? Is there a website?
Yes, ocalaprincess.com.
Awesome.
And we have a Facebook and Pinterest, so it's exciting. We're happy to be part of the community.
Excellent. This final question is for both of you. You were both selected for our 40 Under 40 this year. What final message would you like to share with our listeners about raising the bar for themselves and for the community around them? Who wants to go first?
I guess maybe me. I would just say, be intentional with your faithfulness. Find your purpose and don't let your talent go to waste. It's God-given, so don't let it go to waste.
Absolutely. And Robert?
We all have talents.
That's right.
I mean, wow. I think she said it best. Find your purpose and be faithful. Serve others before serving yourself. That's most important. That's how you find your purpose and serve it.
Absolutely. And you in particular with the music industry, I mean, you followed your heart. You went to Los Angeles and Miami, where you've worked for many years in both areas, and now you're establishing yourself here in the local area. Your focus is really to nurture young talent so that they can really have the same abilities and chances than all these other places. So what kind of was your inspiration? Like what would you want to tell other people who are listening to you right now and want to do the same?
You really, what my wife just said, she said it best. You really have to find your purpose and be honest to your purpose. That's really what it is. Your purpose and your passion. If you a lot of people get into the business for the wrong reasons.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they want fame or they want fortune. And, I was guilty of that young too. I mean, it was like initially music is my passion, but I wasn't really thinking about going into the business until I seen like, whoa, the money and the fame and all of this. Listen, Hollywood is a facade.
Right. I think the lesson here is for everyone to focus on your art, the thing that you really want to showcase yourself. Be very strong and good at that, and everything else will fall into place. And also don't get caught up in all the trappings out there, because there's lots of traps to fall into. And that would be a whole other story right there. But I want to thank you both for sharing your time with us today, and we're looking forward, absolutely. We're looking forward to learning more about the 40 Under 40 people in our group. I want to share with our listeners that I'm going to be working on some additional projects that I won't disclose at the moment, but it will be good for the magazine and for our community. And so I'm going to need additional help. And so I've called upon my good friend and fellow journalist, Kelly Fuqua Hart, and she is going to be assisting me with as a substitute host for the summer. I will come in a couple times when the episode calls for it, but for the next 2 months, she will be pretty much hosting the show. So she will be looking at some of the other 40 under 40 and focusing on their talents, what they bring to the community. Our readers and listeners are going to really love what we bring with this group. It's as diverse as you can imagine. We're very proud of everyone we have, including our cover model, Malak Fakori. She is our first Muslim cover woman, and we chose her because of her unique background. She really inspired me with her sense of hold on to what's traditional, but also be a very modern, cosmopolitan woman and very all-American. And I think we have a lot to learn from her message and what she has to say, in addition to everybody else who's in the group. So please, everyone, pick up a copy. It's available today. It's also available online on www.ocalamagazine.com.
Another good show, John.
Thank you, Larry.
Great thing.
Thank you, guests.
All right, we'll be right back.
Ocala, baby, what makes you look so good? Why don't
Ocala's information